Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome back, and today I am going to predict every NFL game in week 5. But before I do that, first I will recap my picks from week 4. Overall, a good week. I went 12-4. A couple misses, but pretty accurate overall. I finally hit on one of my lock of the week picks and one of my upset of the week picks. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And if you want to be notified whenever I post new content, please click the bell icon. Let's begin. We begin with Thursday Night Football with the Buccaneers visiting the Falcons. The Bucs come in at 3-1. A couple weeks ago, had a really bad loss at home against Denver, but bounced back beautifully last week against Philly with a blowout win. And the Falcons beat the Saints last week, even though they did not score an offensive touchdown. I think both of these teams are good. I think that these teams will finish first and second place in the NFC South. I think they will end up splitting. Normally, I would pick the home team, but right now, Tampa Bay is playing better than Atlanta, so give me Tampa Bay to win here, and I will call this the upset of the week. We then have the first international game of the year with the Jets at 2-2 against the Vikings at 4-0. In case you didn't know, I am a Vikings fan, and boy has this team blown me away. Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores, outside of Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, you might not be able to find a better head coach coordinator combo in the NFL. The Jets, on the other hand, 2-2, and in my opinion, they are not a good team. They lost a home game to Denver last week. Their offense hasn't really impressed me at all this year. The Vikings played very poorly in the second half last week against the Packers. If you didn't see that game, they were up 28-0, and they won by 2, recovering an onside kick. However, I think that the Packers are better than the Jets. Specifically, I think the Packers are a much better coached team than the Jets. I think that Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett, that is not a good coach-coordinator combo. I think that Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores should eat their lunch. There is the possibility that Sam Darnold against an elite Jets defense sees ghosts, quote unquote. If he does, this could be a dogfight. If he doesn't, then I think the Vikings win handily. Either way, the Vikings are clearly the pick here. We then begin the 1 o'clock slate on Sunday with the Buffalo Bills at 3-1 visiting the Houston Texans also at 3-1. This was definitely one of the more anticipated games when the schedule came out. Obviously, the storyline is that Stephon Diggs, now with the Houston Texans, will be facing his former team in the Buffalo Bills. The Texans, although they have not blown anybody out, they have played well this year outside of week 3 against the Vikings. And last year, the Bills, they started off hot and then a really humbling loss in Baltimore last week. They just got bullied up and down the field in that game. Their entire coaching staff looked completely overmatched. However, I am not going to overreact to that loss. I still think Buffalo is really good. They got humiliated last week, so I think that they're going to come into this game ready to play, and I do think they're going to bounce back and get the win here. Next up, we have the Ravens and the Bengals, 2 AFC North teams. The Ravens, after an 0-2 start, are rolling, beat Dallas a couple weeks ago, thrashed Buffalo on Sunday night. The Bengals, on the other hand, started 0-3, bounced back with a win in Carolina. For Cincinnati, this is a game they pretty much have to have. It's a must-win. But Baltimore is a very concerning matchup. The Bengals are not good at defending the run, and of course, running the ball is what the Baltimore Ravens are. Derrick Henry exploded last week against the Buffalo Bills, and I think he's going to have a big game again. I think Lamar Jackson is going to have a big game again, as he typically does against Cincinnati. I do think Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense is going to keep them in the game. I think this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I actually think this is going to be the game of the week. However, the Ravens have pretty much owned the recent history against the Bengals. I think the Ravens are better than the Bengals, so give me the Ravens to win here. Next up, we have an AFC South battle between the 2-2 Indianapolis Colts on a 2-game win streak against the 0-4 Jaguars. The Jaguars have 3 close losses and 1 blowout loss. The Colts, on the other hand, are coming in hot on a 2-game win streak after starting 0-2 with wins against the Bears and the Steelers. All of these factors should favor the Colts, which is exactly the reason I'm going to pick the Jaguars. Listen, until the Colts win in Jacksonville, I'm going to pick against them every time they go there. The Colts are like 0-8, 0-9 in their last 8 or 9 games in Jacksonville. Up next, we have two AFC East teams with the Miami Dolphins visiting the New England Patriots. And I'm just going to say 2 words about this game. Who cares? I mean, both of these teams are terrible. This game is going to be terrible. I'm going to take the Patriots to win here because they are at home. Next, we have the 1-3 Panthers visiting the 2-2 Bears. The Panthers lost a home game to the Bengals last week. Other than that Week 3 mirage in Las Vegas, the Panthers have been absolutely terrible. The Bears, on the other hand, their defense is definitely for real. However, Caleb Williams has struggled a bit. The Panthers' defense is terrible, so I think this is definitely a good spot for Caleb to kind of have a breakout game. I guess how close this game is going to be is going to depend on whether or not Andy Dalton can move the ball on this Bears defense. Personally, I don't think he's going to be able to move the ball at all. So give me the Bears to win here and to win comfortably. And we close out the 1 o'clock slate with the 1-3 Browns and the 3-1 Commanders. For the Commanders, Jayden Daniels. My goodness, he might be this year's C.J. Stroud. He was awesome in Cincinnati a couple weeks ago and was awesome again in Arizona last week. And honestly, through 4 weeks, Washington looks like they might be the best team in that division. Browns, on the other hand, I mean, they're a mess. They have a decent defense, but they have an impossibly bad offense with an impossibly bad quarterback who has no idea how to run an NFL offense anymore. I feel bad for Kevin Stefanski. This isn't his fault. This is the fault of the Browns front office for making that disastrous Deshaun Watson trade. Commanders are pretty obviously the better team here. At 4:05 Eastern, we go out west for the 1-3 Cardinals and the 2-2 49ers. The 49ers, a bit of a rocky start to the year with a lot of injuries, but they bounced back last week at home against the Patriots. They've won both of their home games thus far against the Jets and the Patriots. The Cardinals, on the other hand, showed some really good fight through the first 3 weeks, but really laid an egg at home against Washington last week. The 49ers have looked vulnerable, but they're still the 49ers. They're a much better team than the Cardinals. They should definitely win here. And then we have 2 AFC West teams, both coming in at 2-2, with the Raiders visiting the Broncos. The Broncos started 0-2, but are on a 2-game win streak with road wins in Tampa and in East Rutherford. The Raiders, on the other hand, they're not a good team. A couple of weeks ago, they got blown out by Carolina. I don't think the Browns are good at all, and they played a close game with them at home. The Raiders have a win streak against Denver, and I am aware of that. However, I'm going to pick Denver to win in this spot. I think Sean Payton should outcoach Antonio Pierce. I think the Broncos have been playing better than the Raiders the last few weeks. 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time, CBS's national doubleheader game with the 2-2 Packers and the 1-3 Rams. The Packers got Jordan Love back last week from the MCL sprain, but he was a pick machine. The Rams, on the other hand, have not looked good so far this year. Their one win was a win a couple weeks ago against San Francisco that they stole at the end, that they were down by 14 and clutched out a win by 3 points. They lost in Chicago last week. The Rams rarely ever have a significant home field advantage, and they're certainly not going to have one in this game because Packers fans travel as well as any fan base in the NFL. Jordan Love so far this year is winless. He's 0-2. That is not going to hold. The Packers are going to win this game. And then undercard to Packers at Rams, we have the New York Giants at 1-3 visiting the Seahawks. Currently battling it out against Detroit at the time I'm recording this. It's a high-scoring game late, but it looks like they're going to pick up their first loss. That could change. Listen, I think the Giants stink and Seattle's better. They're at home. They're well coached. They're going to get this one. Then we have the Sunday night matchup with the 2-2 Dallas Cowboys and the 3-1 Pittsburgh Steelers. The Cowboys, if I'm being honest, I don't think they're a good team this year. As a Vikings fan, I will say that Mike Zimmer's defensive scheme is outdated, and it's going to hurt this Cowboys defense all year. The Pittsburgh Steelers, on the other hand, started 3-0, came back to earth last week with a 3-point loss in Indy. Their defense had a pretty rough game last week. Do I think Pittsburgh's going to bounce back this week at home? Yes, I do. As I said, I don't think the Cowboys are good. I think TJ Watt is going to have a big game against this Cowboys offensive line. And I think Justin Fields is going to be able to move the ball on this Cowboys defense just enough for the Steelers defense to do the rest and for the Steelers to win here. And of course, we conclude with Monday night, the undefeated two-time defending champs hosting the New Orleans Saints at 2-2. The Saints look like world beaters to start the year, starting the year 2-0, and since then, they have fallen back to earth. And listen, the head coaching matchup here is Andy Reid versus Dennis Allen. I mean, what a mismatch, right? But the head coaching matchup here is enough of a reason for me to make this my lock of the week. The Chiefs beat the Saints. And that will be all for today. I remind you to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And if you want to be notified whenever I post new content, you can click the bell icon. Thank you all again for tuning in, and I will see you all again real soon.